The failures and collapse of major AAA video game studios has become a common theme in today's gaming landscape. Money-hungry executives have discovered a gold mine in video games and have infiltrated the core of these large studios. The goal? To squeeze every last drop of creativity out of them until they're nothing more than a dry, lifeless husk of their former selves, eventually forcing the original developers to pack up and leave due to burnout or from clash of visions. That's what happens when money takes over. Now, obviously, money is needed to pay the staff and to keep the lights on. But when studios are pushed to crank out more games and tighter timelines, chasing the success that once made them great, it burns the creators out. Fatigue sets in. Developers grow tired of working on the same ideas. Many just want the freedom to build something new instead of recycling the same concepts until they've been beaten to death like a horse forced into a never-ending sprint. So people leave and new studios are born. Places where creators can finally breathe, where they have the space for their ideas to flourish again. One of those studios is Sandfall Interactive. Founded in 2020 by Guillemine Broche, a former Ubisoft developer who worked as a creative director assistant and project coordinator on 2 titles. And with this relatively short resume, Broche managed to release one of the most compelling RPGs I've ever played. Combat that demands skill and strategy. A world that feels vast and wildly imaginative. Authentic characters that foster real emotional engagement. And a story so remarkable I sat frozen at my desk while the credits rolled, contemplating everything that had happened. You know, a game's story is good when it forces you to reflect. Really reflect on your choices. The philosophy behind every moment, the logic behind every action, the mystery that kept me hooked, desperate to uncover more. The storytelling was near perfect, never relying on endless exposition dumps, but instead letting the world show you what you needed to know. What was the gamage? Who is the paintress? What was the expedition's goal? We were given so many questions, and each was answered in time, naturally, without dumping pages of lore in a single dialogue box. Then there's the soundtrack, easily one of the best I've ever heard, set against a stunningly crafted world where you can feel the passion and creativity of the developers in every corner. And the craziest part? This game was made by a team of around 30 people. Of course, they did have additional work outsourced for things like animation, music, and voice acting, but compared to other games of this scale and quality, Sandfall is remarkably a small studio. And with what I just experienced, I am truly excited to see what else they have in store for us. Today is an important day. You, Gustav, stand on a rooftop overlooking the city, your heart pounding with nervous uncertainty. Mayel, someone you care for as deeply as a sister, finds you there. She urges you to stop hesitating and just go find her. After a brief back and forth, you gather the courage. You take the rose waiting at your side and you begin your walk to find her. Sophie is someone you once loved dearly. Having been apart for a while now, you find her after all this time. She's waiting for you. The first few moments are awkward, tentative, but then you offer her the rose, and somehow your anxiety begins to feel unnecessary, silly even. So you walk together towards the harbor. The city is strange today for the player. There's a sense of festivity in the air, but you feel something is off. Red and white roses are scattered through the streets. Some citizens wear bundles of them around their necks, and yet it doesn't feel like a celebration. All we're told is that today is the day of gommage. Through dialogue with various NPCs, it becomes clear that this isn't a holiday, it's a day of mourning. But why? What exactly is the gommage? We don't know. Not yet. We arrive at the harbor. From the edge of the pier, we can see it clearly. A massive monument out in the ocean, and on its surface, 34. As you stand there, something shifts. The world around you turns gray, and though the monument is distant, you feel it looming closer than ever. The colossal statue of a woman, her face obscured by strands of hair, rises. She reaches out and slowly wipes away the number 34, replacing it with 33. That's when the truth reveals itself. People around you begin to turn to ash and rose petals, fading away with the wind. Sophie too begins to vanish, but you don't look away. You hold her hands as long as you can, and then she's gone. This world is cursed by the woman at the monument dubbed the Paintress. Each year she changes the number on the monument, and every time she does, anyone whose age matches that number is erased from existence. That cruel ritual is the Gommage. You play as Gustav, a member of Expedition 33, a group tasked with ending the Gommage and confronting the Paintress once and for all. These expeditions began with the very first number, 100, whose first mission was called Expedition 0. Every year since, a new group has stepped forward to continue the fight. Though none have yet succeeded, their efforts, though, are never wasted. Each expedition leaving behind knowledge, journals, and discoveries to aid the next. Some specialize in climbing, establishing grappling points and paths. Others focus on gliding, building submarines, or even disguising themselves as Nevrons, the Paintress's monstrous creations. None made it through, but every failure brought new insight. Now with Expedition 33, Gustav has achieved something no one else has: the ability to harness the power of Nevrons themselves, an ability known as Illumina, which they will use to hopefully defeat the Paintress once and for all. Beyond this point, to say more would spoil the experience, and trust me, it's one worth discovering for yourself. The lore, the backstory, the world building, the storytelling, they're all stunningly crafted. And what I appreciated most is the respect the game shows for the player's intelligence. There's no info dumping, no drawn out exposition, the story doesn't hold your hand, it shows rather than tells. It would have been easy for a character to remind us what the Gommage is or explain who the Paintress is and why she changes the numbers, but they didn't. Instead, they showed us. The Paintress, silently altering the number, Gustav and Sophie holding each other in quiet dread, the people fading, turning to ash and rose. And in that moment, you understand. That's storytelling. No walls of text, no monologues from side characters dumping lore, just powerful visuals, emotional moments, and a sense of mystery that keeps you leaning in, yearning for more. We were introduced to so many unfamiliar terms: Gommage, gestrels, Nevrons, without a single line of direct explanation. Just context, atmosphere, and curiosity, and it worked. But let's not forget about the cast. The voice acting is exceptional. Every actor brings a natural, heartfelt realism to their role. Emotions are palpable. You can feel the grief, the hesitation, the fear, the love. It all lands perfectly, just as the developers intended. What didn't work so well was the facial rigging. Lip syncing is off, expressions can feel wooden or misaligned, but even with those issues, the emotion still comes through. Thanks to the stellar voice direction, careful dialogue, and powerful animation work in the character movements and scenes.
Look, if death approaches, I want you to run. No, promise me. Run. Especially if we meet the man from the beach. We can't face him. You see him, you run.
Only if you do the same.
Oh, I'm running as soon as I see a strand of white hair, trust me. You won't even see me, I'm running so fast.
Oh, please, you're an old man. I can outrun you any day.
Yeah, right.
The world design is nothing short of extraordinary. Each area is crafted with a level of creativity that is rare even among modern RPGs. Rather than following conventional world design logic, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 breaks free from traditional landscapes and builds a surrealistic tapestry where gravity seems negotiable, color theory replaces topography, and emotion informs geography more than natural law. Every region feels distinct, not only in visual style but in tone and texture. The world is fractured, entire landmasses have been torn apart, some now floating among the clouds as isolated sky islands. Others have sunk into the sea, becoming haunting oceanic ruins, and many more remain in twisted states of limbo, suspended between beauty and decay. One particularly striking area is an ocean biome that sits not beneath water but seemingly on top of land. Coral structures grow upward into the air, schools of spectral fish swim lazily through invisible currents, and shimmering bubbles drift in midair as though caught in a memory of the sea. Walking through it feels dreamlike. It's surreal, disorienting, and strangely calming. It makes you pause and wonder, what are the rules of this world? Is this place real or a reflection of something lost? Why is the ocean above the land? Is it magic, memory, grief? That's what Clair Obscur does best. It makes you question everything. The NPCs you meet reinforce this sense of living history. Many of them are quiet, contemplative, or resigned. Their conversations often don't explain the world outright but reflect how they've come to terms with it, or failed to. The creative direction of the developers is on full display here. It's clear that the team simply didn't want to build a world, they wanted to paint one. The use of color, light, and form across the world makes each area feel like an oil painting in motion. Impressionist influence are strong, giving environments a soft yet often dreamlike quality. Yet there's still an edge to it all, an underlying sadness that never fully leaves. And the biggest component that pulls it all together is the fantastic soundtrack composed by Lorian Testard, who was a hobbyist composer posting his tracks on SoundCloud and random indie game forums. Alice Duport also helped co-create the music and was the vocalist for a few of the tracks. And I have to say, those were one of my favorite songs. I mean, just listen to it.
Dim, dam, dalilam, vacarme, s'en va dans l'oubli éternam. Et Gustave, dom guardiam, dilim, didididilam, sors et fuis, je t'en prie. Fuis ce tableau maudit, cette toile d'une fausse vie. Portrait rêvé, imparfait, chaîne de ta liberté.
Now, of course, the most important part of a video game will of course be its combat. You can have an amazing story, soundtrack, and acting, but all of that will fall flat if the gameplay is terrible. And terrible this game is not. This is a turn-based RPG with a focus on active quick-time events requiring both strategy and skill to succeed. Strategy will be required through learning the weakness of the enemies, employing the right abilities and skills in your party to defeat bosses and high-level challenges with certain enemies. Some fights will require you to figure out the mechanic for it in order to win, such as the P-tanks and the mimes, who sometimes come with something different to think about when fighting them. For the skill aspect, we of course have the parry and dodging mechanic that you have to learn. Think of Paper Mario, where you have to perfectly time and press a sequence of buttons to either get the full effect of your attack or to reduce the damage you receive from the enemies. For Expedition 33, you'll find that the parries and dodges actually negate all damage done to you, with parries, albeit with a smaller window to pull off, allowing you to recover AP, which is the energy source for your skills and abilities. To balance this, on top of the small window, is the damage that the enemies do, which is actually insane. They can outright delete your team if you're not careful. Each character will have their own gameplay mechanic. Lune's core mechanic revolves around something called stains. You gain the stain of an element of your skill plus a certain amount of stains depending on the level of the skill. Your skills can use these stains to buff themselves or provide different effects like reducing the AP cost or buffing the damage. Another example is Mael, whose ability revolves around stances. You have to continuously use different skills to allow her to flow into different stances, or else it'll drop and you'll lose your bonus. Even though combat may seem simple, you will have to study your team and figure out how they work and create builds that allow your party of 3 to synergize with each other. Mael has a skill that allows her to go into the Virtuoso stance, which buffs her damage to 200%, but that requires her to attack a burning target. You compare that with Lune, who will burn the enemy for you, so you can access Virtuoso stance much quicker, especially in the early game before you get all the other amazing skills available for Mael. Now this is just one example of team building. You can focus on buffing the damage of one person, or you can have each of the people in your party deal damage themselves. With a bit of planning, you can make nearly any strategy work. To better equip your team, you have access to a whole host of different weapons with differing effects. And then we have the Picto and Luminous system. There are a ton of different Pictos with completely different effects. Coupling together with weapons will allow you to create really unique and creative builds. You have some Pictos that give you bonuses for doing certain actions like dodging or counterattacking. You have others that buff up your shooting, providing effects that can mark or burn your target. And on top of that, after you use a Picto for 4 battles, it will unlock for your whole party to use in the Luminous tab, allowing you to equip different Pictos. The reason why you would really want to use other Pictos is because it's also used as a stat stick. Certain Pictos will buff certain stats like health, crit, and speed as an example. So with the Luminous system, you can create the perfect build you want while supporting your stats with high-level Pictos to create someone tankier or max their crit rate. This was not an easy game. I'm a stubborn person and I refused to even dodge, even though I had a far more forgiving window to succeed. If I was going to figure out an enemy's attack pattern, I might as well just focus on parrying, which I usually did. Some attacks were harder than others to figure out, and I won't lie, I tilted many times. Seeing the expedition fail screen pop up always quickly made me frustrated, but I walked away, and taking breaks is good for hard games like this because I always did figure out the patterns eventually. I should note that it is easy to accidentally over-level yourself in this game. In Act 3, I decided to do some side content and ended up at level 70 because I wanted to create a build focusing on Lune as a damage dealer, but that trivialized the final fight, needing only a couple of attacks to beat it. So if you want to keep it challenging, don't over-level because you will become a monster bullying the little Nevron. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 really surprised me. They had a smaller staff compared to many AA studios, and they managed to create something fantastic. The story is compelling and thought-provoking. The voice acting is captivating, gripping me during every important moment of the game, although the facial animations really do need a lot of work. The soundtrack is mesmerizing and incredible, being the first project worked on by Lorien Testard, and the gameplay is so frustrating but rewarding. This is an amazing game and is an exciting start for Sandfall Interactive, making me very curious on what their next project will be. With all that said, I can say with complete certainty, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is absolutely worth your time.